Hi there, Waffle here with a little video, and yeah, something quite amazing happened. Back in the day, I went to Replay, I think over 10 years ago or something like that, and the PlayStation 4 hadn't been out that long, or it had, but I hadn't bought it yet. And they were demonstrating on a retro gaming fair. They were demonstrating this game. They had a whole line of PlayStation 2 sit-down systems, I believe even with steering wheels and some with just regular controllers. And they were playing this, they were showcasing this, and I liked it so much that this game actually made me finally get a PlayStation 4. Now, fast forward, more than a decade, and then there's ShadPS4, which is an up-and-coming PlayStation 4 emulator, a PlayStation 4 emulator on the PC. You'd think that is actually quite impossible, but the fact that the PlayStation 4 actually is a bulldozer type AMD CPU with a Radeon graphics card in it. Basically, it's a PC, very much like a PC. So it may actually be a lot more feasible to get PlayStation 4 emulation up and running, and it does. Some games run, and I actually managed to get this to work on ShadPS4, somewhat work. It starts off very promising, but then there's graphical errors because the first race, when you first boot it up, you get, you immediately get thrown into a race where you get a feel of the game. But there's this day-night cycle, and there's weather, yeah, then it gets dark, and you can't see anything anymore. So I had to abandon playing the game. But yeah, this game had some very nice online features, which sadly have disappeared. The servers have gone offline, but it's still a good game. Now, I even have, which is a digital download, the PlayStation VR version of this, because I got a PlayStation VR. I just love VR, the concept of VR, but physically I cannot tolerate VR at all. It's projectile vomiting within seconds after putting on the headset. Even watching YouTube or a movie in the theater mode with just a virtual screen in front of me just has me projectile vomit. So no, VR for me. It's still not perfect, and it runs a bit slow, because what's also actually quite interesting is that I happen to run ShadPS4 on a PC that basically is from around that era. It's my old Core i7 4790K, not overclocked, with an RTX2070, which also is not from back in the day. Probably had an NVIDIA 950 or something like that. But yeah, so basically a system from back in the day, a PC is actually capable of playing this game today. Mind-blowing, and game preservation, which is actually very necessary, because these systems won't be around. They're all locked down, proprietary, and it's our culture, it's our stories, it's our experiences. Games after a certain amount of time should be free. Also books, movies, so that they can be preserved, stored easily, accessed easily, without all the DRM I mean, I understand why it is necessary, but at the same time, it isn't necessary. Steam, I read something that Steam really doesn't do anything, yet it does prevent piracy because it makes the games very accessible. There's an offline mode. There's even the promise of the game still being available after the verification is not possible anymore. Something like that. Well, you know, if Valve ever goes belly up, probably the games will be belly up as well. And I've been on Steam for like 15 plus years. I have a lot of games, so I just hope it will never go belly up. But it might, you know. What do we do then if the servers aren't there anymore? Anyways, DriveClub, running it on a PC, is actually quite special. Even though it's a bit slow and buggy, it's actually quite special. Enjoy. I'll show you some footage I captured with the same PC with OBS, running on Linux Mint LTS2070 22.3 or something like that. It's the LTS Mint Linux, which is based off Ubuntu. Yeah, I sadly almost had to decommission the system. It was running, it was sitting there, it was running Windows 10 quite happily, but then Windows 10, you know, end of life, and it's not possible to update. Well, it is possible, but not officially possible to update it to the latest Windows 11. You know, it lacks the the protective key thingy, which will be circumvented anyway. So yeah, but then they will probably, how do you say it? Losing a tangent here. Windows 11 still, with a workaround, is still illegally possible to install it, you know, circumvent the check and stuff, and the code still runs on the CPU. But it could be that Microsoft, just by changing compilers and, you know, like, oh, this is this arbitrary point in time where we just say, well, these processors will work, those processors won't, certain instructions won't be working anymore. So you never know when Windows is going to break. So it basically turns into a sort of Hackintosh Windows thing. Yeah, not something that you would like to have as your main driver or one of your more dependable systems. Now my i7, I turned into an experimental machine. I might actually go show it. Let me walk. Let's see if I can change the finder. I may have to switch it around. Yeah, I'll stop and start. So this is the Core i7. It has a Blu-ray drive capable of ripping PS3 games, which is actually quite important. And Electa's experimental PC. Used to be Hackintosh at some point. I still can boot into the Hackintosh Windows, and now Linux. It has a shit ton of hard drives, and yeah, I'm running it very happily next to a very small ThinkCenter, which is a Ryzen. And actually, this is a Steam machine, my Steam machine. It runs Bezite quite happily. First-party titles. It does run pretty well. I'll make a video on that, I guess. Yeah, this is my Dell. What is it? Dell Inspiron, I believe. A very lovely machine. It used to be an i7 2600, but I got lucky with my motherboard, so it's now an RTX2070 something, because the Haswell chip, yeah, both generations work on the same socket. My wife has a blue version of this. We bought that 2 months earlier, but she was not able to upgrade to the newer CPU. So she's stuck on an i7 she had an i5, but now she has my i7-2600, which I was, almost deciding to decommission. The i7-3790 is actually quite interesting, because it has a better instruction set, a more modern instruction set, very comparable to the 4th generation, which is another socket. This case I've had 3 at some point in time. This case used to be at my father-in-law's for a while, and my cousins, my nephew and my niece were actually using this as a gaming PC at some point. Yeah, it's back, and it's one of the PCs that I run. This is my main system. It runs Linux, but it also has a version of Windows 10 that has long-term support for about a year, I guess. Over here in Europe, it was free to get elongated support. But then again, this system will probably also eventually run a version of Linux. And yeah. So let me see. Oh, I really like this 10. So Linux has come a long way. It used to be quite easy to completely break a system just by doing something arbitrary. But I've been running Linux ever since the first Slackwares and manually configure the xconfig and manually typing in the monitor frequencies and hoping that your monitor wouldn't go poof. Because these CRTs, they offered a lot of frequencies, but if you got outside of the range, your monitor could actually go poof. These days you get frequency, or on the flat screen you say it's like display mode not supported. Just very nice, but sometimes you even have an image. But back in the day with the CRT monitors, they would just go poof. Quite interesting. Exploding monitors. So yeah, and this side is yeah, 3 systems. There's actually a Mac Mini M4 over there. On the other side, I have a Mister, a 2018 Mac Mini, a 2014 Mac Mini, which is actually a mean Windows XP emulation machine. It runs Windows XP through Parallels, and the old version of Halo on Windows XP actually runs very well. This AWO, it's an N1 Intel little Nook, which is also an experimental machine. I used to test various OSs on this system. Yeah, and there's another there's another system over there, which is a Ryzen 9, but it's an older chip. It's a 3900, which I use for video editing and stuff. And yeah, just you can't not have too many PCs. That runs Windows 11. Oh yeah, and I have another. That is actually my main rig. It's over there. It's an i9, also 59 something, 12 cores, 24 threads. I run AI on that locally, experiment with it. I like it for what it is, but AI actually sucks. And what a lot of people think about it actually is just bogus. It's not what people think. It's autocomplete. It's basically a word processor help thingy. It doesn't think. It just recombines and uses language as logic, but it doesn't understand. Really understand. It's just rehashing information logically through language, which is actually quite interesting. But it's not what people think it is. You can't have a real conversation with it. It uses hacks to sort of stay on track, but it can't. Well, you can make it by hacking it, by putting your own memory layers on top of it, which is interesting. But it's not what it is. Well, let's go check out that PlayStation 4 footage running on that old PC. Basically, it should not be able to do it, but it is, and it's actually quite interesting. So let's go check out the footage.